But most people are scared and they don't want to take a risk. They don't want to bet on themselves. They don't want to go all in on something. And I think that that's kind of what shackles people to be working a job that they hate for the rest of their lives.
I think, with you, there's a genuineness when you talk. People can, well, at least Ross and I can tell that you're authentic. That's who you are. Obviously, we're sitting down with you right now, and you're the real deal. You know what I mean? I bring this up because a lot of people, I should say, particularly with male fighters in the UFC, some of them are just super outrageous with the theatrics, with the trash talking, with the personas. And some of them, it's kind of hard to tell whether... who is this guy really? You know what I mean? Is this all just, are you playing a character right now? So and obviously it's entertaining, but I think people appreciate raw realness more so than anything else. Somebody that's relatable, and you can really feel what they're saying. I think fans get more of a connection to realness. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you definitely exude that.
Thank you.
So
I can only be me. And that's the only person I know how to be, and I think that maybe growing up in a big family and, nobody, squeaky wheel gets the grease, but like I didn't get any because it was just like somebody pay attention to me. That like now that like I have this, I don't want to say spotlight, but this type of platform where I can just finally be myself, and I can just love me or hate me, take it or leave it. I don't care. It makes no difference. I'm always going to stay true to who I am. And I don't have anybody to impress. You know what I mean? I have nobody that I'm trying to fake it for. You take the good with the bad, and what you see is what you get. And I've always been that way. So it doesn't matter. I'm always going to be cool if you're cool. If you come at me sideways, then, I'm going to have to show you what's up. But for the most part, I think that I know who I am. And I'm not trying to be anybody else other than myself. And I think that maybe it comes across as genuine, and I hope that it does because I am being genuine. I'm never faking anything.
What's your favorite part of being a UFC fighter?
I think my favorite part of being a UFC fighter is going toe-to-toe with somebody that thinks that they're going to beat you. It is the thrill of competition. It is literally... mano y mano. We're going to go fist to cuffs, cuffs to fist, whatever it's called. And we're going to see what you got and what I got. And only one of us is going to come out on top. And I think that thrill of competing and finding out the truth, you can't lie in there. There's no lies, So that is, I think, what gets me motivated is that this girl thinks that she can beat me. And now I'm offended. And we're going to find out one way or the other. We're going to find out what the truth is.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are modern day gladiators, right? I mean, this is the most dangerous sport in the world. I think so many, like the UFC, MMA in general is more prominent nowadays, you know what I mean? But it used to be illegal. It used to be very much underground. Ross and I have been watching it since the beginning, since before you couldn't even see it on TV. That's one of the things we bond on. We've always loved martial arts. We've always loved MMA. And, I don't think people take into account just how dangerous this is. They see it on TV and it's just like, oh, okay, it's a fight. But they don't really, most people are never going to know what it's like to be in the cage fighting. This person's trying to take your head off or take your arm home. And, with concussions and, you could get killed. You never know. Right. Somebody drops you on your head. You never know. It's super, super dangerous. And I think most people, the casual fans overlook that. And you're literally putting it all on the line every time you get in there. And you're putting your body, your health, everything on the line, just preparing for that, so.
Yeah. And, somebody had said recently to me, in terms of what I do versus what they do. Obviously, I'm a big supporter of the Blue Line family and firefighters. Thank you for your service. Military people. That is real stuff. That is serious stuff. That is life-threatening type of things where you're going to work every day and you don't know what's going to happen. People that are out there having to fight for this country, or, police officers that are keeping the street clean and, getting into these situations where people are literally trying to take their lives away. That's real stuff. That's real stuff. What I do is an opportunity that I've been given to fight and to entertain people. But with that being said, just because I chose to fight for a living doesn't mean that it's not extremely dangerous and very serious. And while I am in the entertainment business, this is a life or death situation for me. And it always is every single time. And I think that I was being discredited in that. Like, how can you compare what you do to what I do? I don't know if I'm going to make it home tonight, because I'm a police officer and they're trying to kill me. And I'm just like, okay, I am not ever trying to compare what you do in terms of real life stuff versus what I do fighting. I'm not, they're incomparable. Apples and garlic. You can't compare them. But please give me, yes.
Come on.
Yes.
Come on.
I swear to God. But please give me just a little shred of credit for the fact that, like, I'm going out there and, like, I'm signing a waiver that literally is like, you cannot sue us if you die. And it's like, do you know how scary that is to, like, have to sign that? And it's literally in big, bold letters, like, death can occur, It's like, that's scary. And I'm literally having to fight claw, tooth and nail to get any amount of respect or, money to provide for my child. These things are very serious. It's like, if you lose, you only get half of the pie. And if you win, you get the whole enchilada, And so it's one of those things where it's like, don't discredit what I do because there's a lot that goes into it. And I realize that what, police officers, firefighters, and military do, I respect that 1,010%. But just what I do is also very serious.
1,000%.
I got to interject on this real quick. Former police officer, now fireman. I'm just saying whoever said that is a D-bag. Okay. And anyone that says it because it's completely ridiculous.
Right.
And you said before I had my first amateur fight, I had all my friends and family there. I was crapping my pants in the back.
Yeah.
Because I get knocked out.
Yeah.
I mean, I won, thankfully.
Yeah.
But, they're not going to say anything then, but I'm going to get donged, jokes later. So there's a lot riding on this.
Right.
That you said you were there, your hometown, and everyone was there, right. And then you had to push through it.
Yeah.
I don't think people really put into perspective, you're really out there just like
the consequences,
just naked and bones,
right.
It's raw, it's real. If I lose, everyone's watching this. I got to eat it. I got to stand here, put my head up. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And I got to tip my hat off to you because whoever said that, I think they're just garbage.
Right.
Whatever, that's unnecessary.
Right.
I think a lot of people don't understand how much fighters and yourself put out there. Your
right.
whole life's out there.
Right.
You're getting bombarded by, people be slashing heads on social media about police or fire, but sometimes, it could be a big realm. When it's you, you're out there. You're on the spotlight. You're right. the one getting all the heat back, win or lose.
Right.
So, I mean, that's a lot.
Right.
A lot more than I think people even take into consideration.
Right. It's exposing you at your most vulnerable state, and not only are you in your most vulnerable state, but the whole world is watching. And I think I saw something about, the UFC having 100 million fans, so it's like 100 million fans. It's in the entire world. And so it can be very, feeling very exposed, but I think you had said something earlier, like, what's it like mindset wise? And it's like, when you get into that moment, you're so keyed in your flow state, tunnel vision, that you don't even know that there's people watching you. You don't even know that there's, 50,000 fans in the crowd and that everybody's, screaming at you to die or whatever, or they're cheering you on, whatever it may be. You're so zeroed in. And I think that, when the time gets closer and closer and closer, and like we said, those people don't pay my bills. Those people are nothing. And I just need to focus on what I know I can do. And at the end of the day, whether you're a police officer, military person, selling ice cream, do your job. Do your job. That's all you have to do. Just go in there and do your job. And I told this to my coach. I said, don't you think that I'm crazy and weird that I chose fist fighting for a living? He's like, no. He's like, it's a job. Everybody has a job. Like, everybody has a job. It's a little different than what normal people choose to do for a job, but a job is a job and somebody's got to do it, and this is your calling. So go answer the call.
And there's so many people that were so scared to walk through those doors, but be the first one to talk crap to you, and you push yourself all this way. And it drives me nuts. I know it drives Matt nuts, just the backlash on the people.
The thing is, just in life in general, a lot of people are just afraid to take a chance of doing something out of the ordinary to become an extraordinary person, right? A lot of people will give up on their dreams before they pursue them because of the what ifs. They'd rather take the safe route in life. To get involved in a sport like MMA, where there's tons of fighters around the world, it grows by the year. To take that route as a woman, it's just, I'm sure growing up, most people thought you were crazy for pursuing that path, right? And now you're the best woman in the world. I don't care what weight class. You're the best in the world. Like, and it's like, you know, a lot of people, you don't know what you can achieve if you don't, you know, cross that burden of doubt, right? Is that fair to say?
Well, I think it's all about risk, right? And like, how much risk are you willing to go through? I think that what has made fighters different than other people is there's a bed of coals on the ground. They're on fire. And I'm willing to walk through a little bit of a hotter fire than most people are willing to do. And because of that, I have found lots of opportunities and successes and, you know, been rewarded for walking through that fire. But most people are scared and they don't want to take a risk. They don't want to bet on themselves. They don't want to go all in on something. And I think that that's kind of what shackles people to be working a job that they hate for the rest of their lives, or, you know, never asking that girl out on a date, or, you know, never, like, I think I saw John Cena yesterday saying that he's never going to have kids because it's just going to, you know, mess up his grandiose plans of just being the man all day long, you know? And it's like, this guy has absolutely no idea that this risk that he's choosing not to take is an absolute mistake. This would be the greatest blessing of his entire life if he would just be willing to take the risk, and he would just be the best dad in the world, and he would be so happy to create this life and have this, you know, little son, I would imagine he would have, you know? And so I just think people are just afraid and they don't know what they don't know. And I am a curious person by nature. I was always the person in the classroom asking a million questions and wanting to know and seeking knowledge and wanting higher ground. And I need more, because I'm just a curious person. And I know that if I limited myself or put myself in a box and said that you can't do something, I would just be so unhappy and I would just not feel like I have purpose in life, you know, and I want to find my purpose. I'm always wanting more and to seek more knowledge and to put myself in a position where, yeah, it's hard. It's supposed to be hard. Nothing worth having in life comes easy. You have to work for it. And I don't want anybody to give me anything, and no one has ever given me anything. I've always worked and fought literally for everything that I've ever had. And I think that that's the only way that most people should go about life, because through taking those risks, I have been rewarded. And you're not going to see that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow if you're afraid to come out of your shell.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel bad for people that never end up taking that step and taking that risk, and then they grow old and then they just look back on their life with nothing but regrets. Yeah. It's a short ride at the end of the day. After 30, it's, you know, the years go by quicker and quicker, you know, and it's like, you got to go after your dreams and you got to pursue what you want in life, because we're all going to get old. Nobody's leaving this earth alive. You know what I mean? And to me, the biggest travesty is never pursuing your dreams, never going after and living with those what ifs. You know what I mean? So what you're saying is a testament to just the drive to just go after what you want in life, and anything is possible, right?
Right. Yeah. Like, what is your calling? What do you like to do? What sets your soul on fire? What are you passionate about? You know, I know that when I get old, I'm going to hopefully probably won't even be able to remember. I have so much dementia, CTE, from getting punched in the face all my life. But hopefully if I, 60 years old and looking back, I can be,
you're going to go, you're good.
I'm going to be like, nah, I was a badass back in my day. You know what I mean? And I'll be able to say that, not to say that the people that don't take risks aren't badasses, but just maybe take a risk, and see what happens. You're either going to succeed or you're going to fail. And either way, you're going to know and you're going to find out. And if you have any sort of competitive or, any sort of achieving bone in your body, you're going to want to do it again until you get it right and until you find that success.
For sure. This is kind of a off-topic question, but I'm dying to know.
Yeah.
Like when you get dressed up and you put on your makeup and you just walk around, just like anybody else, like how often do you guys that don't watch MMA like come up and have no idea who you are? I'm sure you get catcalled or like, do you ever get like, because you would never know that you're the baddest woman walking around the earth. You know what I mean? Because you're obviously very, very pretty girl. You could be on a cover of a magazine, like. It's just, I'm just fascinated to see like the dynamic of you just like outside, if you ever go out or anything like that.
Yeah.
Has that ever happened where guys will like approach you or anything like that? And
I have an alter ego when I go out. I don't ever admit what I do. Obviously, I would never admit to anybody, but when they ask me my name, I say that my name is Veronica. So that way I don't have to go down this rabbit hole of, yes, I fight. And you know what I mean? It's just, I just want to be treated like a normal person. You know what I mean? And so I think it's funny because they will sometimes not know what I do. And then it leaks out somehow. Somebody will sell me out or, something will happen. Or be like, why do I recognize you? You look so familiar. And then it'd be like the jig's up. And then I have no choice, but for the most part, I would say, I don't normally go out quite a bit.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a total homebody. And if I were to go out, I think that men these days are so like not approaching women like they used to. Yeah. But I also think maybe I have resting bitch face. I don't know. Maybe I don't have the warmest demeanor to approachable. Like maybe they're scared because I don't seem approachable. I think I get more of that than anything.
Yeah.
Just like she doesn't seem like she would be nice, But yeah. I also think that it's like, I really am nice. You just have to talk to me. I swear I'm nice. Just say hi.
Right.
Right. Sometimes though, I'm like, please don't say hi because then I know that they're going to be like talking about, MMA and it's like, oh man, you can never escape it. It's like one of these things where it's like always the forefront of every conversation.
Right. But so you do recognize that like people that don't follow the sport, when they see you out, just say you're going to a restaurant to eat or to the grocery store. Like you do not look like the baddest what did you call it, baddest mother effer out there, like there's who I just find that fascinating.
Baddest effing mother.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the BMF belt, right? Mm-hmm. Baddest mother effer.
Yeah.
I think it's just switch it around, baddest effing mother.
Right.
So just the two letters are mixed up. But no, I think that when I do get dressed up and I go out, if they don't recognize me, they're just always extremely nice.
Yeah.
And I'm extremely nice, and unless somebody sells me out, then they will, make the comment like, why you fight? You can't. You don't mess up your face. It's already messed up. I got ran over. I got my nose smashed.
My arm broken. And guess what? I just kept going.
Yeah.
I had a fight next week, whatever.
Yeah.
When you say sell you out, meaning like, oh, you don't know who she is, like hyping you up, like talking about you. Do you not like that? So you'd rather just
no.
Be
the only time I will accept that, or like I would never push for it, but like I might be like, well, you could. And that is very far and few in between. And the only time I have ever done that has been when it is trying to get any sort of access to like a club or a restaurant reservation. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I need to get in here. So please go ahead. All the time you want to tell everybody who I am. You know what I mean? This is the time. Right? Like Montverde, trying to get in there for months. Like hasn't been able to happen, So I'm just like, I'm trying to get into the restaurant. And then they did finally name drop it. They're like, next Saturday, 9:00. And I'm like, yeah, is that all you had? Like, dude, like I would never say, please, can you say, who it's for? But when it comes to those types of situations, I'm like,
that's a perk that I think you well deserve.
Yeah.
And that's just part of the game. I mean, I don't think people are going to hate on that.
Nah,
I wouldn't at all.
My brother hates on that all the time. He thinks that I'm just a normal person, and I am a normal person. But like, for example, I got pulled over driving to practice one day. I had her in the back of the seat of the car and him in the driver or passenger seat. And I didn't say anything. I wasn't like, don't you know who I am? Like I didn't say anything. He was like, why are you speeding? And I said, I'm on my way to practice. And I didn't say UFC practice or a boxing practice. So I didn't say, I'm training for a title fight. I didn't say anything. And so when he left, I said, man, I should have said who I am. And my brother's like, why? What makes you think that you're so special? You got to pay your taxes just like everybody else. You need to go to the speed limit just like everybody else. When you think you're this big old shit that you don't you don't deserve to have a ticket, and he slapped me with a ticket. And I was like so irritated by it.
What? Speeding?
For speeding. Yeah. And I didn't name drop at that time. And so the next day he was leaving back to Spokane. And he had to drive to Milwaukee to drop off one of his employees. And he drove back. He called me on the phone and he was like, you're never going to guess what just happened. And I go, what? And he goes, I'm trying to make my flight. He goes, I got pulled over. And I go, are you serious? And he goes, yeah. He's like, the cop asked why I was speeding. And I said, I have to take my UFC fighter sister to practice. And she's fighting for a title. And I have to get her there on time. And that's the only, he goes, well, who's your sister? And I said, Julianna Pen. He goes, well, tell her I said good luck. You're all good, buddy. And he let me go. And I was like, I mean, I lost it. And he was like, I said you can't name drop. I didn't say that I can't name drop. And I was so mad. I lost it. And so my cousins came over to visit me one time. And I was like, my brother got out of a speeding ticket. And I'm telling them this story that they wanted me to name drop. I wasn't going to name drop, and we were going somewhere. And I was like, no, but my brother, get a load of this. Look at what Jeff did. And they're like, that doesn't sound accurate. And I'm like, no, it happened. The cop let him go. 100% the cop let him go. And so they're like, nah. I'm like, we can call him up right now. Let's ask him. They're like, okay, call him. I was like, call my brother. And I'm like, tell them that you got pulled over and the cop let you go because you name dropped me. And he just starts busting out laughing. He's like, oh, I was lying. I was totally kidding. And I was like, I got even more mad again because he's always joking and pranking me and trying to do the name drop thing. But
that's funny because I bought it first. I was like,
I was 100% hook, line, and sinker.
Dirty,
I mean, and I should have known. My brother has always been a trickster like that, so I should have known. But he had me till that moment, and I was mortified, embarrassed that I was wrong in front of my cousins. Because if I had $1 million, I would have bet it all, and I would have lost it all right then. I was sold that the cop let him go. Yeah. So one of those things where I talked to a few of my cop friends, and they're like, no, you should have told him who you were. Yeah. You should have said who you were. And I was like, if he was a good cop, it wouldn't have mattered. And he would have still given me the ticket. Because at the end of the day, I'm just like everybody else. And I shouldn't be speeding. It's hard in a Beamer, though. Let me tell you. It's real hard in a Beamer.
Like walking around your neighborhood with your daughter or your dog, for example. Do your neighbors ever come up to you and they're like, hey, Julianna, hey, what's up, world champ? Is it ever, what's that dynamic like? Just being...
At first, they didn't because they didn't know who I was. But then I got one of my neighbors across the street here. He's just a Mondo fan. And I mean, we talk all the time because he's just so enamored with the sport, and he loves the sport. And then the other day I was walking the dog and this guy stopped me. I had my headphones like, hey, you're the fighter. And I said, yeah. He goes, yeah, your next door neighbor's right next door. They said that, that you're fighting for a world title. I said, yeah. And he's like, that's great. He's like, I love the sport. I've been following it forever, and slowly but surely they're starting to leak out. And, these neighbors down here, they were like, oh, we're so sorry. Our daughter's getting married that day, but we're going to put it on and we're still going to be supporting you. And, the other neighbors down the street told me, they went to a barbecue and they said, well, guess who I live next door to? And they said, Julianna Pena. And the guy lost his mind. Like, oh, yes, you're my biggest fan, So they tell me these stories,
Right.
And my neighbors next door, actually, they came over with muffins the other day. And I'm like, I can't have this. I'm going to wait, and they're like, oh, we'll give it to your friends, and Issa ate them. And so I love the neighborhood that I live in. I think that they're all very supportive and they're very curious,
for sure.
They always want to talk and small talk about it, so it's fun. I feel like I live in Mayberry, you know what I mean? It's a perfect little neighborhood. Hey, Johnny, hey, Mike. We're all really cool in this little area here. So right. I got some amazing neighbors.
For sure. Now being world famous, right? You met some cool people over the years, right?
Yes. You said I'm world famous. I didn't say that. I would never say
I'm
that.
gonna say world famous.
Yeah, you're world famous. You're the best
one. You gotta take it as one.
Literally the best female fighter walking planet Earth today. That's just facts.
Thank you.
Either way, you meet some cool people, and we saw some photos of you and Ric Flair.
Oh yeah.
And Mike Tyson.
Yes.
Where did you run into them at?
So my agent, Chad Bronstein, that's how. He reignited, Ric Flair's career with the Ric Flair drip marijuana.
Yeah.
And he also did the same thing for Mike Tyson with the Mike Tyson bites. And now he's working with the next one who's going to be coming out here soon. I'm a sponsored athlete by Real American Beer for Hulk Hogan.
There you go.
And so Hulk is going to be, the next one that I'll be, chumming up with.
Yeah.
And it's all because of my agent, Chad Bronstein.
Nice.
He's, the marketing man, the man with the plan for all these, guys.
Okay. Yeah. Because Ross and I, our favorite boxer is Mike Tyson.
Okay.
Right?
Like $1 million people.
Yeah.
Right. Mike Tyson's just a G. You watch him forever. What was it like interacting with him? Like, what'd you guys talk about? What do you talk about with Mike Tyson?
I remember when I went on his podcast and he was sitting there eating blueberries, and the way that he was eating them was like he was about to shoot some craps or some dice or something. He was just like rolling them in his hand like this, and then he'd go and knock a few back, and then he'd just roll them in his hand some more, and then he'd knock a few back. And the way that he ate the blueberries, did I say raspberries? I meant blueberries.
I said blueberries.
Yeah, the way that he ate the blueberries was so awesome, and they just even looked good. You know what I mean? He made it look like they were the best tasting blueberries he's ever had. And I was just sitting there I want a blueberry. He was just so funny and effortlessly funny, where you just were like, oh, this is so cool. One of my heroes growing up watching, you just so enamored with him and being in his presence and the aura that he has. And then I was fighting for Amanda too. And Mike Tyson comes back there and they're like, Mike's going to walk out with you. And I'm like, oh no, who wouldn't want Mike Tyson to walk out with them? But not before the biggest fight of your life, and not without any notice. I'm about to walk out and they're like, Mike's gonna join you, and I'm like, oh great. No pressure. No pressure, Julia. So Mike Tyson walked out with me on my fight with Amanda, and I was just like, you can't fuck up. Mike's watching you, he's walking out with you, he's showing your support, he couldn't be more supportive, and so it was just one of those things where it was just it was just all bad all around, and so it was just very embarrassing. And Mike was very nice obviously afterwards, but I do recall going to Nobu with him and my agent one time, and they got in a fight that I thought was juvenile, in terms of I didn't think it was that serious. But the way that Mike got aggressive and started to get more and more fluffed up and started pounding on the table, and all these white people in Nobu were and everybody was scared, and it was with my agent, who is no slouch. He was gonna fight him and they were gonna fight, and I was like, Chad, please, calm down, relax. But my agent did not back off the line at all. And he was like, I'm gonna freaking fight Mike Tyson right now. And we were all had to be everybody be cool, it's all good, because he's standing up and he's pounding the table, and it was over a game of basketball. It was literally over who was going to beat who in a basketball game. And I was like, I cannot, the cooks are stopping. Everybody's what's going on? It was just this gigantic show in the front window of Nobu. And it was just I was scared. And I was like,
what are you saying?
I didn't say, I was like, I'm going to have to help Chad beat up Mike Tyson. I literally was thinking we're about to get in a fist fight, and so the whole time I'm thinking we're about to scrap, and it was scary. And so I was just thankful that the situation got de-escalated, because for a second there it was yeah, this is happening.
They were arguing over an imaginary game that never happened, right?
An imaginary game that never happened. On the line between those two, yes.
Did they ever play?
No, he was like, I will punch you in your sciatic nerve. Like, get out of here. You know, beat me in basketball. And Mike's like, and I'm like, he's white. You know, he's like calling Chad the N-word a million times. And I'm just like, oh, what am I doing here?
Oh my goodness.
It was pretty scary.
Can either one of them play basketball?
I don't know. I mean, Chad is extremely competitive and extremely athletic.
Apparently.
Oh, he's competitive and he's very athletic. So I was like, I think Chad might win that, you know? But I don't know. I didn't know that Mike Tyson even knew how to ball. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I've never seen him with a basketball in his hand, but apparently he's a great basketball player. I think he was expecting Chad to lay down, and Chad don't lay down for anyone, you know? And so it was just one of those things where it was like, this is really happening. It was a very scary moment.
They're all cool now, right?
They're great, yeah. And then Chad had Mike walk out with me. So
yeah, that's just like a bro moment between dudes, or even
but like even he thought that he was gonna fight.
I'm sure that was pretty intense. The energy had to be
like, what do you do? Like, how did it de-escalate though? Like, what do you? How did it like?
We all were like, please stop! Like, you're scaring the patrons, you know. Talk about world famous. We couldn't leave the restaurant for freaking an hour after that because they recognized him through the window. And he couldn't get into his car without taking pictures with every single fan. And it was just mobbed. The whole street, the whole corner. It was just an absolute mob.
It's crazy. What do you talk about with him if it's just you and him? Do you talk about, like, it sounds cliche. Do you talk about fighting or like, what do
we
you
do? I like go and I like empty out my heart like I'm talking to some boxing therapist or something. And I was like telling him all my problems. What do I do? You know? And I remember talking to him actually about being crazy, and because my agent wants me to, you know, start and rile up all this drama, and I'm like, no, you know, and Mike's like, you're stupid. He literally tells me, you're stupid. And he goes, you must not like money. And I remember thinking, and now that I think about it, maybe I should start talking even if I'm not getting pay-per-view points, you know what I mean? Because he said, you know, this is your chance and it doesn't matter what you got to do. Make your money, you know? So if you got to say that she looks like a witch and she's the worst person you've ever made, like whatever, you know, get people interested in your fight. And so he was kind of just more so pushing me to push the envelope so that I can make more money.
Yeah. That obviously, did that resonated with you then, right?
It did. Absolutely. Yeah. Kind of Ric Flair also kind of had that mindset of, you know, vivacious and crazy and over the top, you know, because you want people interested, whether they're interested in your success or your failure, you want them invested in your failures or in your successes. And the only way that you can do that is to make noise, to get people to watch. And so I think that while that has stuck with me, this fight, I'm just like, getting pay-per-view points. I'm not going to say anything. But then I'm also like, nah, I think that's the wrong approach. And to be honest, I don't think that I can't not say anything. It's just not in me to not talk. You know, I'm a talker.
Let's change the script for a little bit. I'm going to change that for you. Raquel is your fight.
Yeah.
Right? October 5th.
Yeah.
On a Saturday.
Yep.
Salt Lake City, Utah.
Salt Lake City,
I say it 3 times. I'm going to tongue twister. Instead of saying something mean, let's say something nice about her first. How about that?
Yeah. Raquel. Her daughter's cute.
All right, cool.
The one that Tisha made. Yeah.
Fair enough.
All right. Now let's go the opposite way.
No, you know, to be honest, I don't really have. I do have a lot to say about Raquel. But like, I'm almost annoyed at my own self because I am like, well, did you guys watch The Ultimate Fighter? No? Okay, well then you're not going to understand this demeanor that I have towards her if you didn't watch the show. Those of you that didn't watch, I'll fill you in a little bit. She was horrible. I hated her. No, I didn't hate her. I don't hate anyone, but my sense of likeness for her definitely deteriorated after watching the show because I thought that she was on my side. I thought that she was a teammate. I thought that she genuinely wanted good for me. And lo and behold, this chick is the one that's stirring the pot the entire time, unbeknownst to me. So what are you going to do to fight Shayna? And how do you feel about Shayna? I'm like, dude, you wouldn't even know it. 2 months ago, I bought her t-shirt for $40 and I got a picture with her at Strikeforce in California. And I was like, Shayna, I'm your biggest fan. And now I'm fighting her and she's a submission artist and I'm crapping my pants. What am I going to do? And I'm like, Shayna. And this freaking brat goes down into the rooms and she goes, Julianna is shaking in her booties and she's upstairs crying right now. And she just told her everything that I just said. Like, I came to you, you came to me asking me about her. And I opened up to you as a teammate, as somebody that I thought I could trust. And then you just went and just told her everything that I was feeling. And I didn't know that at the time until I watched the show and saw that she was backstabbing me the whole time. And then she was the reason why everybody was so mad at me with Miesha being there, because she just kept, whispering in people's ear, like, do you see that? Miesha looked over at her in the corner. I knew she was the favorite, and just everybody is up in arms getting riled up because she's the one whispering in everybody's ear being like, she's the favorite. They only like her. Yeah, they're both from Washington. Yeah, look at the way that they saw each other from 300 feet across the room. And so she just created a lot of problems for me that I didn't know at the time was her until I rewatched the show. And I'm like, this sneaky little brat. Like, wow. Like, what an unloyal jerk, And so I think that that's where my disdain for her originated. Then she says that she's been waiting 13 years to punch me in the mouth. And it's like, I haven't thought about you for 13 years. I've been like going up the ladder and living my best life. Like, I'm not even thinking about that. But like, she thinks that she's the one that should have won the Ultimate Fighter because she should have listened to Dana and thrown her hands more and whop, whop, whop. And so it was like, for her, she has all of these excuses and all of these complaints and all the time complaining and all the time excuses and this for this and this for this and this for this. And it's almost like a rhyme and a reason for anything. Like, she can't take accountability for anything. Like, can you just say you lost the Ultimate Fighter and it wasn't your season and it was mine and just be happy for me instead of just going around and creating all this drama?
Yeah.
None of that pissed me off more than her telling me that I was there to soak up the camera time because I was getting my hair done and doing my makeup. And whenever I had an interview, I would take the time to make myself look presentable for national television. And then she told me that, like, all I care about is being a princess and getting dressed up. So then, like, week 4 or 5, she's like, will you do a makeover on me and dress us up in your high heels and in your dresses? And I'm like, weren't you just giving me all this crap saying that I was only doing this for camera time? So, of course, I made her look more beautiful than I've ever seen her look still to this day. I put her in my dresses. I put her in my high heels. I taught her how to walk. And now she wants to fight me? Like, you should be saying thank you. What's your problem?
Yeah.
Like,
showing how nice you are.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm literally the nicest. I make you look more beautiful than you ever have. And all I get back is, I've been waiting 13 years to punch this broad in the face. Like, what's your problem?
Yeah.
Like, golly, so rude.
That's crazy. Like, what is... It doesn't even make sense.
It doesn't. I'm like, you should be saying thank you.
Right.
Ungrateful.
Right.
So ungrateful.
So it sounds like she's just like jealous of you.
I would never say that.
Well,
you said that.
Okay. I'm going to piggyback too. It's the same thing.
Well, when I was on the show, I just rewatched the show and I see her like seeding, like their favorites, you know what I mean?
Right,
and they're playing favorites. And I'm like, it looks like she's jealous on the show.
Right,
I don't want to say that. But it seemed like it, from a viewer on the outside watching. It's like, this girl's jealous.
Right.
And maybe that's what it is. But she was just like, you don't ever hang out with us. And I'm like, well, every time I go into the room, it gets really quiet. It's blatantly obvious that you guys are talking about me.
Right.
So why would I hang out with you guys when I know that you're talking about me? And so she wanted me to stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning with them and hang out with them. And it was like, nah, I'm not here to make friends, dude. Like, this girl's trying to take my head off. This girl's trying to take my head off. We can braid hair later. Like, this is a last woman standing wins, And so one of the problems that I had with her was she would stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning. And then the next morning, you get to train twice a day. So our training sessions for Miesha's team was first thing in the morning and then again in the afternoon time around 4:00. So she wouldn't go to the first practice because she was up all night drinking and hanging out with all the team and would miss first practice. And so she would only go to the second practice. Meanwhile, I'm like trying to make the most of this opportunity. I'm never going to get to live in a house where I get to eat king salmon every single night, or where I don't have to deal with any family or outside friends drama. I don't have to pay my cell phone bill. I don't have any. This is my only time to focus on me as a fighter. And this is the only time I'll ever get in my life again of 7 weeks of just pure dedication to just fighting and no distraction. So I was making the most of it and going to these practices. I never missed a practice. I was there every single day, twice a day, and she was sleeping. So she got mad at me because she said that I was shaking my supplement pills like the maracas and that I was like waking her up. And I'm just like, get up and go to practice. Like we're there to fight. I'm living on top of each other. She's on the top bunk. I'm on the bottom bunk. And it's like the tensions were very high, but at the same time, it's like, I'm not purposely shaking my supplement pills to wake you up. I'm just taking my supplements. You know what I mean? Maybe you wouldn't feel this way if you weren't drinking and partying and hanging out all night long and actually went to the practices. And this was when she was still in the competition before she got out of the competition. So she was upset at me for purposely being loud and slamming doors. And I'm just like, I'm done with you. Just throw the whole girl away. I can't even like deal with this. You know, it's just drama. It's just stirring all these problems.
And then you have the audacity to be upset.
Yeah.
And like you won because you were taking the most time out of it. Well, you're sleeping.
You're not staying up till 3 a.m.
Right. Yeah.
It goes to show.
Yes.
Hard work pays off.
And then would you do my hair and make me look pretty too? It's like, get out of here.
That sounds so crazy though. Like what you're describing sound like it's crazy. Like you're like, why? Like,
and
it doesn't even make any sense.
I am not exaggerating or making it up. It is on the show. For those of you that hasn't seen it, season 18 of The Ultimate Fighter, you can go watch it for yourself. And everything that I am saying is 100% true.
Was it hard? I mean, you know, there was a big show that was, what is that show? Love is Blind, right?
Yeah.
Everyone was obsessed with it. When's the next week coming out? What was the next week coming out? You're in this show.
Yeah.
And are you watching it week to week? So like all you're sitting there like not saying hit popcorn. And you're like, wait a second, like popcorn's flying in the air.
Yeah.
She just said this.
Yeah.
And then this happens, but I was here for this.
Yes.
Like,
the only difference is that they give you the episode one day before it actually airs. So you can watch it, you know, by yourself. And I was like ready to turn the whole table over. I'm like, it all makes sense now. She was the one that was creating these problems for me and I didn't know it, you know, but I was still like, hey, how's it going? You know, I'm like doodling on paper because I was so bored and no one would talk to me. And like, they were all like, I could tell that there was like, they weren't my people. So I'm like drawing our names, like doodling, because we all had the same room. So I'm like Raquel and Sarah and Juliana, and like putting all these beautiful signs all over the door, like trying to make it homey. And, you know, I'm like trying to do these nice things. And it's like, lo and behold, they're all behind me in the interviews and with the rest of the team, just, you know, and I'm just like, golly, I was so nice to you guys. Like, what did I do? I did your dishes. Like, what did I do wrong? You know, I couldn't win no matter what against them in terms of them liking me. It was just, again, a gigantic target on my back of them just hating my life.
Just jealous.
Maybe.
She's too happy. She's too cool. She's too friendly. She's too good of a fighter. Like
maybe.
And she has all the beauty tips as well. You know, that you were kind enough to instill on them and show them what's up. Like it's just like
what more do they want?
Right.
You know?
Misery wants to hang out with
and they eat your food too, correct?
Yeah, and that was the other part that really made. I mean, I didn't want to be petty and bring up the food, but like I made enchiladas. I made all these foods, and like I can promise you, if I didn't like somebody, I would not eat one thing of theirs. I would not touch it. You couldn't pay me money to eat food from somebody I didn't like. They were talking so much smack about me, and I'd go to open up, get the leftovers, gone. They'd eat all my food. And I'm like, how are you going to talk about me and hate me? And then you're going to eat my food. I just didn't understand that. But there was things that needed to be done around the house. It's like one of those things where it's like, they think that the dishes just automatically get done. And they think that like, you know, we have clean cups today. I wonder how this happened. It's like, it was me. It was me. I made that food. I cleaned those cups. You're welcome. You know, it's like, it didn't matter what I did. I could do a million things. They were going to find a way to tear me down as best as they could. But I just focused on myself, and all of their distractions and negativity just could not penetrate through this wall in my mind. And I think that probably is what got under their skin the most.
Yeah. Did you have a hard time, like, staying asleep at night if they were coming in at late hours of the night, like 3 or 4 a.m.? Like, did you ever wake up? Were they ever making noise?
Yeah, talk about being upset. Like, I should have been the one that was mad. You know what I mean? Or you're disrupting my sleep coming in late at night. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know?
Especially if you're drinking.
Oh,
stuff,
drinking.
they're probably
tiptoeing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think that, you know, I probably did, and I have journals. I don't know if I wrote anything like that down, but I probably was upset about that because the door would stick too. I don't know. I know that in the history of The Ultimate Fighter, we had the worst house, and I'm friends with the producers, and they will like laugh and like joke that it was the worst house, but it felt like they did it on purpose because like the doors would stick and it would almost be like they would be like billowed out or something like a cage, because when you would open it, it would be like, you know? And so when she would come in, it would be like this gigantic loud sound of the door sticking and closing and opening. And it was very annoying. And it was like, they must have put these cheap doors in here on purpose just so somebody like punches through them or like gets upset and, you know, does these things that are so annoying on purpose. But they were like, no, it's just a cheap house.
Yeah. And you had the audacity to wake up early in the morning and take your supplements. I mean, how dare you open your supplements? That's unbelievable. It's truly unbelievable.
Yeah. No, one of her complaints was that I unvelcroed my shorts too loud. Like I was getting my shorts on and I was just ripping my Velcro as loud as possible. And I was just like, the Velcro was just so loud that she couldn't sleep. And, you know, poor Raquel.
She's saying this to you?
Yeah, she said it to me that I've unvelcroed my shorts too loud.
What'd you say?
Well, she's laying in bed to roll back over to go to sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I laughed. I think I was laughing so hard because I couldn't believe the things that she was saying.
Right.
It was hilarious, you know? And so I was just like, and I didn't know that she was creating all of these problems for me. So I was like, ha, you're so funny. Oh, that Raquel. But then after watching the show, I'm like,
I wish I went like this a couple more times.
Yeah. I was like,
yeah.
how dare she?
So during filming, you didn't know that they had this animosity towards you, or
I could feel it.
You feel
I could feel it, yeah, because I would walk in and they'd be like, pss, 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 and then I would walk in and be like, you know what I mean? It's like classic like that. Like they're talking about you. Yeah. You know they're talking about you, and then the second that you walk in there, it's just very confirmed that they are, because then all of a sudden it's crickets.
Yeah.
So it was just one of those things where it was like, wow, yeah, I'm definitely not going to hang out with you guys. You couldn't pay me money to hang out with you guys. And I think the men too were very annoyed with me for whatever reason. There was only one guy on the show that was nice to me, and that was Chris Holdsworth, and he was the only one that would, you know, give me the time of day.
He seems like a real nice guy.
The British guys were also very nice. The British guys, they didn't beef with me at all. They were very low key. I think they were like, I don't want to say accomplices, but they wouldn't join in any of the negative talk. They would just sit and listen and be around it while they were talking.
Yeah.
They didn't join, but they didn't help at all either.
You know, this sounds, it's kind of like this in the entertainment world as well, in film and television, but it sounds like they were almost like, it's like a high school lunch table, and they just clicked up together at their table, and then they're like, oh, Juliana, you can't sit at our table or whatever. Like little petty, like clicking. It's just, it's crazy that would happen under those circumstances too, you know? Like,
also, Ronda was such a superstar, and everyone that was on Miesha's team was disgruntled because they wanted to all be on Ronda's team.
Really?
You know? And so it was even like Miesha's own team was like against her, you know? Yeah. Like Raquel, for example. Ronda came in and designed shirts for everyone. She cut them up, tore them up, and made them, you know, twisted them up for everybody. And Raquel's over there in line getting her shirt, you know, tied up, and, you know, Ronda's behind her, and you could just see her like beaming, you know what I mean? And Miesha comes in and she was like, oh, I see whose team you're really on. You know what I mean? And like me, I absolutely would have been offended. This is where me and Miesha are vastly different, because Miesha's like, doesn't care about anything. You know what I mean? She's like, whatever, you know? But me, I was like, how could you? You know, like if it would have been me on my team, I would have been like, you're out of here. And I would have been so offended. Miesha didn't care. It was like, no big deal to her. But for me, I was like, how could you? We're supposed to be Team Tate all the way.
Right.
And that's just, again, shows Raquel's personality is like, she's got no loyalty to anyone. You know, it was like, she wanted to get her shirt Rondified, and she didn't care about being a team. She wanted to be on Ronda's team, and she was very obviously visual and vocal about that when she got that shirt done. Me, with the way that Ronda treated me, and with the way that the whole house was against me, I would have died first before I would have asked her to give a shirt to me or do a shirt for me, you know?
Yeah.
And so, but I also think that that's just because the way Ronda treated me, you know, she viewed me as Miesha's best friend. And so she was like, F you too, B, you know, and she was not nice.
I think she saw something though that everyone sees, and she probably saw that you were going to be a threat to her later on in life if she stayed in that division or in the UFC, because next thing you know, you're a world champion.
Yeah.
You know, so I think a lot of people, they see it and they're just haters.
Right.
And, you know, I'm just going to crap on you, push you away because I could see that you have something, you have that gift, you know. There's always someone who kind of sparkles in the room or does something crazy. You're like, man, that guy's got it, or that woman's got it.
Right.
You know, and I think the it factor. And I think you had it, and I think they were trying to crap on it.
She did tell me that we had got out of the house. Dana took us out, and we went to this arcade, and she told me that night, she goes, you are going to give me a tougher fight than Miesha Tate could ever dream about. She says, but when that day comes, I'm still going to kick your ass. And I told her, I looked her right in the eyes. I didn't shy away. I didn't blink. I said, we'll see. And that was the one and only conversation that we ever had. And then she got carried out by her 6 teammates because she couldn't even walk.
Yeah.
She's literally puking in the corner, and then they're literally having to freaking like pick her up and like walk her out of there. Like it was like 2 by the head, 2 by the leg, 2 in the center. Like she got carried out.
Why do you think she came up to you and said that? Is that all she said? Or?
That's all she said. And it was because she did view me as a threat.
Okay.
100%.
All right.
She told me that. She told me I was going to give her a tougher fight than Miesha.
She showed her cards.
Yep, she did.
Was she mean anybody else more than you, or
no?
Really,
it was me and Miesha.
Okay.
Miesha first, of course. She was very, very mean to Miesha, and then I obviously got the brunt of it as well.
Okay. What do you think orchestrated the disdain for you on the show? Because it sounds like somebody was like pulling the strings or maybe getting in the ears of other people.
It was Raquel.
So she was the one that orchestrated everything.
Yeah, because she was living on the bunk bed above me. Yeah. She would hang out in Ronda's team's room. Yeah. So she was always like, hey, how do you feel about this? Or, hey, how do you feel about that? Like she would even ask when I was out of the room, Sarah in our room, well, what do you think is going to happen between Shayna and Julianna? And they would talk about what's going to happen, you know, and then she would go downstairs and tell them everything. So I definitely think that she was, you know, the puppet master behind the whole thing of orchestrating this hate for everyone around me, especially because she was upset. She told me that she was upset that I wasn't hanging out with them at nighttime. Yeah. And that I wasn't joining in on their little campfires, you know, and I told her right then and there, why would I hang out with you guys when I know that you guys are talking crap about me? Yeah. And she didn't really, her excuse was, well, maybe we wouldn't talk about you if you would hang out with us. And so I feel like she really just wanted maybe me to sit and, you know, have some camaraderie with the rest of the team, whether it be Ronda's team or her team, and I wouldn't. And I think that she wanted me to be there and do that. And so since I didn't, then she was going to make me the source of contention for everyone.
Yeah.
Which once again, it just seems like, I'm going to say the word jealous. And then also it's like she sees this. She's like, man, I really want to be just like her.
Yeah.
And then she's, 100%.
Wasn't she wearing your dresses? Like, wearing your dresses, doing your makeup like you, like everything.
Obviously, being a bully's not getting around.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, can you make me look pretty?
Yeah.
You know, it's a 100% jealousy thing.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, she could deny it, she could whatever it is, right. But you could see it plain as day.
It didn't work out so well for 2 of the other guys on the season as well, because they ended up getting kicked off the show, and they were bigger bullies than Raquel could ever dream of. And they were all in it together. You know what I mean? They were all in the mix together. I know for a fact that they told the other team that I leaked all the matchups. So then they start accusing me of leaking the matchups. And I'm like, no. I am a Leo Lion, loyal to the soil. I will die for my team. I'm telling you and looking in you in the eyes, I would never do such a thing. And they're like, no, you did it. I know you did it. And then the kid gets on camera. He's like, yeah, I made it up. I made it up, and I just want to see her squirm, and I just made up the whole thing, you know?
Oh my God.
And so these two kids were just horrific to me the whole time. I mean, they're the type of people that would like throw water balloons at you behind your back, like just bullies. And the one kid got cut off or missed weight, and he got cut up on the show. And I said, Dana, I said, you wouldn't believe it. I said, this guy has been horrible to me, literally the worst. And he goes, well, it doesn't pay to be mean to you, does it, babe? And I said, nope, thank you. And then 2 weeks later, the other kid that was also a complete bag, he was like, Rock, I know that Roxanne's talking crap about Julianna, and if Roxanne's talking crap about you, then you know that you effed up, you know? And he was the other one that was causing a lot of drama for me. And boom, misses weight and gets kicked off the show. And I remember when Dana goes, see that door right there? That's the door that you go out right now. And he gets kicked off, you know, so it was so shameful. He was so ashamed. And I went up to Dana right after that again. I said, I swear to God, you wouldn't believe it. That kid was also the biggest bully to me. And he goes, looks like they got the Vixen curse. It looks like they got the Vixen curse. And I was like, yeah, Vixen curse, you know? And so I always remember that. I'm like, it doesn't pay to be mean to me. You know, It doesn't pay. Yeah, God, you'll get the Vixen curse, and you don't want that.